TGN Latinx. Sauce Son. Investment Bars. Here we go, yo. Investment bars. Let's start with the golden rule. Play with money that you can't lose. You acting like a fool.
All right. Welcome.
Sir. Hit the mics so they unmuted.
Yeah.
Everybody.
They are unmuted. They can hear us.
Making sure I see the red mic right there. All right.
Okay, teacher.
All right, everybody. So welcome. Folks, let's jump right into it.
Let's go.
I like this whole little tradition we got going on. So this week, what's the smartest thing you've done financially? We didn't realize it at first.
I'll go first because just wanted to put it out there, but
You don't want Rennie to go first?
nah, not this time because he likes to go last.
Okay.
But I think the smartest thing that I did was a long time ago getting more credit cards than I knew what to do with. But
Okay.
but let me add the but first is that I didn't use them. And from what my friend Dogra told me, credit history is very, very important. So the amount of time that you've had credit helps you. And obviously maybe I didn't use them all or I used them, here and there without knowing that I was rotating or cycling as you've told me about. So that was something that I
smart thing you did was not let them what?
Get to have a balance
No,
or default or expire or close.
Yes, close.
Yes.
There you go.
That
So
was
now you
smart.
have that credit history.
That
Good
was
job,
smart.
sir.
All right.
That's a good one.
Who's next?
I'll go.
Okay. Go ahead. No, go ahead.
Because I don't want you guys saying that I
You
don't.
just
let
got to
you
be
guys
behind
go.
Rick's. That's all.
There
You
you
need
go.
to be behind Rick's.
We were going to talk a little bit about student loans, but I want to share the way I paid mine down. Wasn't a smart decision that I thought was smart at the moment, but looking back, it was a great decision. And I balance transferred them onto 0% interest, like 3% fees.
Those balance
Boom,
transfers
boom,
we
boom.
talked about last
Yeah,
week.
exactly.
There you go.
Damn, look at that.
And that was once. Yeah, I didn't even know you yet. And
Yeah.
So you knew before you knew.
He knew. He
Yeah.
knew.
Yeah, there you go.
All right, Chris.
All right. Mine would be driving the same car. My pop, shout out dad, getting me my first car at 16, 1999 Mazda Protege, champagne gold.
Mm.
I rode the shit out that car.
Yeah, you
right,
did.
all
Yeah, you
right.
did. That was a good whip.
All through college, 7 dudes in it, all through high school, finished, started a career, still driving that whip, walk out with my colleagues from happy hour, and I'd be embarrassed to go to my car. I would try to stall.
But you were the only one that wasn't getting pulled over.
Yeah, sure.
There
That was
you go.
definitely one benefit. Another benefit was I didn't have a car payment like the
There
car
you
payment
go.
I have now.
did you ever crash it?
Oh yeah, I did. I did.
Oh,
Oh yeah, I did. We went through wars.
What was the name of yours?
I had the Super Civic.
The Super Civic.
Yeah, I had
I
the
couldn't
Super
remember
Civic.
that.
That one was a good girl, but yeah, it
Oh,
did
mine
me
was
dirty.
Tallulah. That's how beautiful she was. It was Tallulah.
That Lula.
Well, for me, it was a little bit of my just, I guess, hesitancy in jumping into getting credit. That once I did get credit, I paid every single month in full,
Yeah.
all the time,
Oh, in full.
without fail.
Okay.
In full. Like I never like to carry a balance.
Okay.
And I am happy to tell you all 846, baby.
Clap
Hey,
it up for yourself,
clap
man.
it up,
There you
baby.
go.
846. Hot
846.
damn.
Woo, woo.
846.
What's the highest you can get? Like 900 or 850?
No,
Like
850,
pretty, yeah,
850.
850. So you're pretty much
I'm
perfect.
right there. That's that.
So y'all
A1 you
know
were
who
talking
to
about
go
the other
to.
day. Man,
Y'all know
that's
who to
that-
go to if you need a cosigner.
There you go.
That's that
Not
AA1.
me.
See, I need a
It's
new
gonna
whip
be a
now.
big fat
I
no.
need to get out of that
Bro.
That
protege. Me and
AA1.
Tallulah got to break up.
You're gonna be walking a lot.
Come
bro.
on, man. Come
Yeah,
on.
there
We
you go.
family.
Pero bueno, mi gente, welcome to another episode of Brown Wealth Radio live each and every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Pacific.
to
To
be
be
specific.
specific.
That's right. Or you can catch us anytime on demand on the TGN app or on our YouTube channel. Well, I don't know if you realize this, but we got through our first month of radio hosting,
Damn.
YouTubing, podcasting. I don't know about you, but I'm pretty damn proud of
That's
us.
pretty good.
Hey,
It feels like my
clap it
second or
up.
third episode. I can't believe it's been a
Oh,
month.
well, there are exceptions, But for us three over here,
Oh,
that's what-
okay.
Yeah.
No, but in all seriousness, right? Like we want to thank the people who have started with us since day one, and those of you who have joined us along the
Thank
way.
you.
I know, even though it's only been 4 episodes, we are here with episode 5, talking about springs.
Yep.
Right, springs.
Springs.
We're gonna
Springs.
here to bring you that hot fuego as we always do, because that's what we've been known to do.
There you go.
I'm gonna time those a little bit better.
Yeah, there you go. You're working
But
on it.
this
It's all
week
right.
we're talking a lot about what is it? Student loan debt.
Student loan
Yeah,
debt.
student loan debt,
How it impacts your credit, right? You're gonna be dropping some knowledge on us.
definitely.
We're gonna be talking about earnings, right?
Yeah,
of
we are.
course, we always
Um,
do.
Maybe like the biggest bank out there, like commercial bank, not
Mhm.
investment bank, right? And how they did, which was kind of, I guess if we go with this one,
Mhm.
Uh-oh.
yeah, poor JPM
No
did
bueno.
not have a good quarter.
Them puts though.
And then, if I'm not mistaken, man, we're talking about helium today, right?
Yep.
Right?
I remember
Because
that.
I don't know about you, but everything around me keeps inflating. The food
Hey.
prices, the gas prices. I
That
thought
beard.
last month was bad, but Jesus, this is bad.
Yeah.
So we're gonna bring you all this hot stuff.
You see
and
how his
so
beard
so
got
much
longer?
more. Yeah, and grayer apparently. But before we get into all the good stuff, you know what we got to do, right? We got to
What we gotta
let
do.
Ricks do what he do best and give you
Yep.
this amazing disclaimer.
The disclaimer, and
The
that
man
is-
with the tan.
Yep, and that is that our content is intended to be used and must be used for educational and informational purposes only. It is very important to do your own research, aka do your own homework before making any investment decisions, and they should be based on your own personal circumstances. Investing has inherent risk, and past performance does not guarantee future results. You should take independent financial advice from a professional in connection with or independently research and verify any information that you wish to rely upon, whether for the purpose of making an investment decision or otherwise.
Listen, not only is it impressive that he reads it the way he does, but look at the size of the font on this thing. It's like a
The
3.
eyesight is real.
How do you see that? My
Eyesight
man.
is real, my boy.
There you
Hey,
go.
no wasting paper, no killing trees.
Nah.
Hey, you know, we got to do with what works with us, man.
Yeah, there you
And
go.
I think I missed you guys last week. I kind of want to know what.
Hey, what's the
Mm.
411?
Let's go.
What's the 411?
I got it going on.
That's
Got it
right.
going on, huh?
What's the
All right. What's the 411? It's your boy Rennie giving you the news you didn't know you needed. New
I like
CPI
that.
numbers.
There
If you don't
News-
know, no, you know.
New CPI numbers that came out. That is the Consumer Price Index. Prices that consumers pay for everyday items surged in March to their highest level since the early days of the Reagan administration, according to Labor Department data released Tuesday. Yeah, I wasn't born during the early days of the Reagan
Were
administration.
you here, Jesse?
Yeah, I sure was. Thank you.
He can tell you about Jimmy Carter.
Damn.
Diablo, no pa tanto, pero like, yeah. I know
Yo,
Reagan.
it was tough when Reagan was around.
Yeah,
huh?
back in those days.
Reaganomics is not a real thing.
It's not real.
You lived
Yo,
through
yo,
it.
yo. The Consumer Price Index, which measures a wide-ranging basket of goods and services, jumped 8.5% from a year ago on an unadjusted basis, above even the already elevated Dow Jones estimate for 8.4%.
Little helium.
That's a helium.
Yeah.
That's definitely that helium. You know what was crazy is that as wild as that number is, where I felt it the most was at the pump.
Yep.
Dude, the gas
Yeah.
prices jumped up. What was it, like 18%
Yeah.
month over month?
Yeah.
So, you know, my little hybrid, I think I'm all cool. I'm saving money. Nah, I'm not
No.
saving money on gas at
Yeah.
all anymore.
Yeah. I felt that going on my first Costco run as a married man. You know, got up early on a Saturday, got in line for
How'd that
Costco.
feel?
It was really weird. Like I just kept hearing like the Home Depot theme the whole time, like dun 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 dun. Dun. Like it was weird, but you know,
Check it out.
That's my
Story
thought.
time. Now there is some possible good to it. There were signs that core inflation appeared to be ebbing as it rose just 0.3% for the month, less than the 0.5% estimate. That in turn sparked some hope that inflation overall was easing and that March might represent the peak.
So we got a 0.2% win we can celebrate.
Maybe.
Hey, hey, at least it didn't go 0.2%
Yeah,
more
there you
up.
go.
Well, with all that said, there was another update that came out today, and that's the PPI, the Producer Price Index, which also went up. The Producer Price Index, which measures prices paid by wholesalers, rose 1.4% in March and 11.2% from a year ago, both records for data going back to 2010. Prices for final demand goods led with a 2.3% monthly rise, while service prices gained 0.9%. And that's a Producer Price Index. If I remember correctly, I think we quickly touched on it, maybe our first episode, right?
Yeah, that I think that report there deserves one of these.
Yeah, it does.
Because yeah, what was it 11%? You said 11.2.
11.
So that means the people, the companies supplying the products to the businesses that are selling it to the consumers, their prices are going up.
Exactly.
So that means we will eventually again have to continue to pay more.
Correct. I think it's more of a leading indicator than a lagging indicator, but we'll see.
Yep.
We'll
So-
see.
we I think this is a topic that we should at some point like discuss in further detail.
Yeah.
Like at what point does corporate greed play a role?
Oh, it's already going on.
you know what I'm saying? But I mean that's another topic for another day.
I mean,
Come
yeah,
on.
and in
Or
that
how they
day, we
manipulate
will
those
talk
numbers,
about
yeah.
the big back and forth that there is right now. Is that in order to fight inflation, many feel that the government would have to bring on another recession, which we obviously talked about last week a little bit. But there's a lot more to that. But let's keep it going because this is one that we've been touching on a little bit and different ways to interpret this one. But there has actually been lower demand of mortgages than expected. So rising rates are causing a drop in home loan demand. So mortgage bankers are lowering their forecast for the year. The Mortgage Bankers Association said it expects overall mortgage originations, which include refinancing loans, to total $2.58 trillion in 2022, a 35.5% decline from last year.
I wouldn't call it a lack of loan demand. I think it's just a lack of qualifying for that loan for how expensive it is now.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great
A friend
point.
of mine actually, I told him about this
Yeah.
being at a 4.7% interest rate going up, and he looked up his house, which he bought recently for $800,000, and he put in the same 20% down that he did. His payment right now is like $3,400.
Yeah.
With the new interest rate, his payment would be $4,600
Yeah.
for
Wow.
the same house.
This lowered outlook comes as demand for refinancing sinks. Applications to refinance a home loan fell 5% during the most recent week and were 62% lower than they were a year ago.
Yeah.
So, I mean, to your point, like, I do think that there probably is more people than have ever wanted to own a home. But I think what it comes down to a little bit more is that those rising interest rates when it comes to refinancing, a lot of times, like depending on, everybody has a unique situation, but refinancing was arguably a lot more favorable probably 12 to 18 months ago. Not
Absolutely.
arguably, actually. But what I'm saying.
I know, you're right.
You know,
3
now,
months ago, it was still on fire.
yeah, like if
Yeah.
you locked in your rate, you know, I mean, at the, in the threes, some people have them in the twos, like,
Yeah.
287.
and now
Yeah.
are we still over 5?
Yes.
We're still over 5.
Yeah.
So even though existing sales volume will be slightly lower than last year, the continued growth in new home sales and the rapid rise in home prices should deliver a smaller but solid 4% annual growth in purchase origination volume. The average contract interest rate for 30-year fixed mortgages with a 20% down payment and a conforming loan balance of 647 or less increased to 5.13% from 4.9. The rate stood at 3.27% the same week 1 year ago.
Wow.
That's a big jump. Big jump. So
That's massive.
we were talking before the show, right? And we were talking about this, amazing news that I got with this credit update, and I'm like, well, now I kind of want to wait. Like,
Yep.
The rates, even with my score, aren't as favorable now as they were.
No,
3
not at
months
all.
ago, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think that's part of where you see that demand start to drop. People start to think that same way,
Yeah.
and that's kind of what they try to do, right? When they're trying to tighten up that money supply, the qualifications, to your point, are going to be much more difficult.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Well, I think moving on, all these are great topics, but today we're going to be focusing a little bit more about student loans. So let me end with an update in regards to student loans, and we'll come back to it a little bit later in the show. But the U.S. Department of Education has extended the payment pause on federal student loans for the 6th time since the pandemic began more than 2 years ago. This time, borrowers have been told that they don't have to resume their bills until September. Nearly 66% of likely voters are in support of the president forgiving student debt, with more than 70% of Latino and Black voters in favor, a recent poll showed. Interest will remain suspended on federal student loans in the direct program. With interest rates on most federal student loans at 0, it can also be a good time to make progress paying down more expensive debt. The average interest rate on credit cards is currently more than 16%. So, that's honestly, it's hard to interpret that as anything, but good news.
Yeah.
But we'll talk a little bit more
We'll
about
talk
that
more
in a bit,
about
right?
that. Yeah, we'll talk more about that, how that's going to be impacted and everything like that. But it's good news for a lot of us that have student loan debt still. So that's excellent.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think
Excelente.
excellent. As we, wrap up on this particular topic of student loans, Denzel wants to remind you that
If you don't read the newspaper, you're uninformed. If you do read it, you're misinformed.
And with that, now we're going to talk about some dollars.
I need a dollar, that's what I need. Hey. Well, I need a dollar.
Yes, sir. Let's go into the market today. And my boys, on our 5th episode, we can say that we had a green day. So give me some of that.
Right.
Hey. Had a little bit of a green day today with our three major indexes that we follow. The first one being the S&P 500. It went up to $4,446.67, up 1.2%. The NASDAQ went up to $13,643.59, up 2.03%. And the Dow Jones went up to $34,564.59, up 1.0%. Now, if you look back at our first episode, we've gotten up just a bit from the S&P 500. We've gone up, 2%, just straight up 2% right now. The NASDAQ has gone up 1.6% in the last 5 weeks, and the Dow Jones has gone up 1.5%. But as 50 Cent once said, what is it? Slow dough is better than no dough, right?
Absolutely.
So we had a good day today. Let's keep it moving.
Cool. All right. Well, with that, I think we want to talk about some money, right?
Mhm.
We're talking about some earnings.
All right. Estamos bien, gente. So first off, CarMax, KMX, they were actually down 9.54% yesterday after an earnings miss. So this is one that I got to say is like boggling my mind a little bit. I don't really follow, CarMax and Carvana too much, but, earnings reports are backward looking. And, with the used car market being out of control and these prices going up, I was really surprised to read about this a little bit more, but maybe it's a little bit more in the background than, in the past than I thought. Weaker than expected used car unit sales maybe makes sense with the way that the cost is going up like crazy. EPS, they are still profitable. They came in at 98 cents per share. Estimates came in at $1.27. But I don't know if it was a CEO, somebody on their top team said that they don't think that top line trends will improve markedly, but continue to capture share. I've been on the CarMax website and stuff, and I know some of us have sold our cars on CarMax or Carvana. I just think Carvana is better. It's just easier to use.
How was that experience for you when you sold your car?
Smooth. I just I said I wanted to sell it. They came, they picked it up, they had me send some pictures in. It was all done quick.
Yeah, I did the same with CarMax.
Yeah, CarMax is cool too. They didn't come pick it up like they did with you.
Okay.
But
walk in
there.
The CarMax is like half a mile from my house.
Yeah.
So
Carvana offered me 10-15% more than what CarMax did.
Okay.
Interesting.
Yeah. So anyway, JP Morgan, biggest bank, right? Chase, down 3% after earnings. The revenue was down 3% year over year, but it was ahead of analyst expectations. But profits were down 42% in the first quarter. With all that said, they ended at 127. They hit a 52-week low at 126.01 earlier today. The average price target on JPM though is $170. What do you guys think?
I mean, you ended on a high note. I really wanted you to end on a bad note
Yes.
so I can go.
Well, let's talk about it. When I share these price targets, it doesn't mean I think they're going to get to 170. That could be the response. It sounds like you guys know what Jesse thinks. He thinks that 170 is out of here.
No, I mean, when you think about the position that JPM is in, they lead that kind of retail banking space, right? They have their Chase private client. They've got all these different things. I bank with them. I love the service I get. I love them as a bank, right?
So you buying the dip?
I'm actually not invested in JPM at all. I'm not invested in any banks.
Okay.
But that's neither here nor there. I was just surprised to see that was. I mean, I guess we'll see what next quarter brings, because realistically, what I'm looking at is now how are they going to respond with the interest rates going up? Right now, the banks are going to start making money.
Right.
Where for the last few years, their interest rates were so low, banks weren't making.
They were just giving it away, just printing
Exactly.
new money.
So
Yeah, it was
that was a big reason why the profits went down. Then essentially,
I just think of
It would make sense
how
to that.
vocal their CEO is, right? Like Jamie Dimon is somebody who's very respected in the financial world. So to see his business perform at this level is
Well, his company assigned quite a price target on the next company I'm going to cover, Delta. They were up 6.2% after earnings. I think they reported earlier today. Smaller than expected loss, profit expected this quarter, actually. And this is after we kind of talked about, I think we talked about Clear a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
So this isn't too much of a surprise, but monthly revenue exceeded pre-pandemic levels for the first time ever. And as I mentioned, JP Morgan assigned them a price target of $69. But here's the thing, they closed at $41 today. So $69 would be 75% ish profit if it were to hit that.
Yeah.
The average target is 47, but interesting that JP Morgan went up so high. So you seemed a little happy when I mentioned that.
I just like flying with Delta.
Yeah.
I'm not invested in them. I was invested in Alaska Airlines, but I recently liquidated that position.
Gotcha.
But no, it was profitable. I think Delta of the airlines, I like flying Delta.
What about you guys? What's your preferred airline?
Honestly, I like Southwest just
Yeah.
because it's cheap, it's easy. If I get there early, it's on time. But I like
What-
Delta's.
Well, I mean, yeah, to Vegas, but Southwest doesn't go everywhere.
Whatever's
Oh.
cheapest for me, not named Spirit or Frontier.
Yeah.
Just keep it
I mean,
100.
no, and really, what it comes down to is if I'm taking my son or not. If I'm
Oh.
not taking him, I'm just gonna go Southwest. It's
Yeah.
easy,
Yes.
check
Okay.
bags. But I wouldn't. I would try not to take him on Southwest.
Okay.
Yeah. No, you're right.
Yeah, but I
to Vegas, yeah.
maybe to
with the kids.
maybe to Vegas.
Fly.
but
I don't know.
I mean, I
But
wouldn't
you know
know.
who's dope
Flight,
too
bro.
is I think Alaska's pretty good.
Yeah,
Like,
no,
personally, I like
Alaska's
I like
nice.
them a
Yeah.
lot. It's a
I had a
really
pretty good
airline.
experience with JetBlue
JetBlue's good.
recently.
Yeah, their stock is trash, but
JetBlue.
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. You know who? I
trying to buy
definitely will
Spirit.
never ever fly again as a Spirit.
Yeah, I
did
never
it
fly
one
with
time,
Spirit.
10
Never
years
that.
ago. Never
Yeah.
do it again.
Man,
I did
All
that
right.
on my first visit.
we're lucky we're
My
still
first
here
visit
after
to
flying
Chicago. Yeah,
Spirit.
my first visit to
You-
Chicago,
hey,
visiting Rennie.
All
yeah.
that matters is that you came.
There you go.
So-
That's all that
It's
matters.
all-
I got
it's all
there.
that matters, huh?
I got there.
Damn,
We're
Rennie,
lost, boss.
keep that to yourself.
so how about Bed Bath and
Yo,
Beyond?
Bed
Rennie?
Bath and Beyond down.
We got. Come on.
Bed Bath and Beyond down 7% after earnings this AM, but only closed down 1%. High of 53.90 last year. They shared that they had some inventory issues. Big earnings miss though because they were actually expected to report a slight profit, and they missed at 93 cents per share. With that said, they closed at 17.76. Like I said, they got a high of 53.90 last year. The average price target, and there are actually a few analysts from what I remember looking at, is 122.
Wow.
Personally, I am not buying any Bed Bath and Beyond.
Yeah.
but
Wasn't Bed Bath and Beyond also caught up in this whole meme stock situation last year?
they were.
Yeah, yeah.
And that might be why they hit that 53.
Yeah.
But I did find that price target to be a little like abnormally high. It's kind of interesting to wonder what why would it be up that high? But
Do you guys shop it, or do your wives shop it? Like we don't shop at Bed
No.
Bath
Yeah,
and
I'm
Beyond.
not a. Yeah.
no.
I mean,
That's-
once I found out that their levels of towels aren't all towels. It's one towel folded in a stencil or whatever you want
Yeah.
to call that
You
thing.
can't
Yeah,
respect that.
When looking at
it's
this,
fugazi, bro.
for Rennie, when you're looking at this and you see average price target,
Uh-huh.
what is a I guess a decent or a very expected type of timeline on this kind of thing?
Well, so great question. I usually pull price targets from Tip Ranks. Great resource, has a lot of amazing information, but price targets, you got to take them with a grain of salt. But if I was going to say that I want to take a price target more seriously, I would look at how liquid that stock is, like how much volume does it do. It's a little bit harder to sway an Apple than it would be to maybe sway a Bed Bath and Beyond, right?
Okay.
Because like you called it, like if meme investors wanted to go after Bed Bath and Beyond, I mean, they're a fairly liquid company, but it would take so much volume to make that happen. Whereas if somebody came out and said Apple's going to get to 1,000, yeah, they're going to get to 1,000 eventually. But if it happened next week, it's just not possible because of how much money is tied up in the market capitalization.
I think
of it.
also, there's a lot of different price targets from a lot of different
Yeah.
places that offer them. And maybe kind of looking at the average of those, is kind of maybe more realistic. Those that are, pro that stock and those that are con that
Yeah,
stock.
and I think
give you a better
as people are
understanding.
get into their financial literacy and they start to research these type of things, they're like, ooh, it's only 17 right now. The target is 120.
You got to do more
In
research.
their mind, the first thing is probably going to be how long is this going to take?
I believe it's somewhere between, like, most analysts, like when they give
12
out that
months.
price target, it's like 12 to
12
18
months.
Yeah.
months
Yeah.
out.
So I mean, if you want to take that, it's a bet.
But
kind of
also
thing.
remember, it's all about what? Long-term investing.
Yes.
So
Yes.
if
That means
the company
that
going to be
talking about
around.
Dinero.
Yep. Let's take that dinero.
Oh,
I wanted to make sure we made time for this
That's
for you this
right.
week because we started talking about SQQQ,
and
couple
we rushed
episodes
through it.
ago.
We rushed through it.
and you got some really good stuff to talk about here.
Yeah.
So go ahead, man, take it away.
So I'm gonna talk a little bit about like ways to profit or at least hedge your investments during market downturns. And
Why are
last
you
couple
talking-
weeks have treated us pretty well, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so I'm gonna talk about a couple of ways that you could do that. And when I mention this, what I would say, in my own unprofessional opinion, we don't make recommendations anyway, but I will just share that for me personally. None of these are good long-term investment ideas. There's short-term ideas that you can use to hedge your portfolio. Why? Because if you think about the long term, what way does the market go up? What way does the market go? It goes up,
Yes.
right?
Overall,
I answered my own question.
Overall, yeah.
What way does it go? It goes up. So you wouldn't take a long-term bet that the market is go down when it really hasn't. So during these periods of volatility where, you know, there's a lot of discussion about inflation, possible recession, student loan crises, right? Like you can see, while at the same time having such a highly valued stock market, right, where like the market capitalization is still at an all-time high. During these volatile times, like when you're maybe thinking your investments could go down, like how could you actually make money on them the other way? And that's what SQQ is, right? We talked about it very quickly last week. It's an inverse ETF. And what that means is that it goes up when when that index associated with it, in this case a QQQ, goes down. So I mentioned it last week quickly. At one point over the past week, you would have been up as much as 10% from last week. Today was a green day, which obviously would mean it would come back down, but 5% in a week if you're just literally hedging your portfolio. So SQQ is one that if you're not sure which way the market is going to go up and you want to like kind of hedge it, put a little bit of insurance on your investments, make some money short term, that's a good way. And then the other thing that you can do is you can also short stocks. So that's when you basically borrow shares. Let's say I borrowed shares from Chris. Let's say he had shares of Apple that he wants to borrow, and I think it's going to go from 170 to 155. I would borrow them from him, right? And then I would sell them when they hit 155, and I pocket the difference, right? Because then I return the shares to him. So that's how you short stock. So you know, if you
how can they learn a little bit more about that in the next 13 seconds?
Good call. So let's make sure that you guys check out the Brown Wealth Matters stock market course, as well as our Leap options course, and go to our IG page and hit the link in bio.
Yep.
Got the Brown Wealth Matters stock market course, as well as our Leap options course, and go to our IG page and hit the link in bio.
Yep.
Oh my God, do you really know? Do you really know who you are, what you want, how to get it? Or are you just living to exist with drama-filled relationships, bored, unfulfilled desires, and now lack has become your hashtag? The difference between a spectacular life or an ordinary one is merely 15 minutes of discovery. Choose to live a fulfilled life narrated and created by your design. Book a 15-minute free consultation with Coach Zena, transformational practitioner specializing in human design and life coaching. Learn what awaits you. Go to CoachZena.com or on Instagram at coach.askzena.
Hey, everybody, it's your girl, Sharique LeMay, and make sure you are checking out Limelight Live Show on TGN Talk, 7 p.m. every single Thursday. That's right. We're talking creative news and reviews and the best of it. Catch us then.
What's good, fam? It's your boy Marlon from the Hat Bodega, where we sell hats, pins, and other accessories to up your drip. Check out our website, hatbodega.com, or follow us on Instagram and check out our story sales. Use promo code TGN Radio for buy one, get one off on all our pins.
Hey, y'all, what is up? It is Chantal, owner of The Latina Studio. We are a Latina lifestyle brand that empowers badass Latinas on the daily. Our mission is to keep the cultura alive by providing clothing and accessories to help you express your Latinx heritage. We're giving you 20% off. Just head over to thelatinastudio.com and use the code TGN20 at checkout.
Yo, what's up? This is Rix.
Yo, this is Rennie.
What up? Dover in the building.
What's good, family? This is Jesse, and this is
Brown Wealth Radio. And make sure to catch us on TGN Latinx every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Pacific, to be specific.
Hey, Peyton, you know what I've been craving lately? Some ice cream.
Then we have to go to Slush and Roll. They have the best handmade ice cream rolls. You can add any toppings you like. Sprinkles, crushed Oreos, and my favorite, marshmallows. And you can top it off with whipped cream or delicious chocolate drizzle.
I just looked them up, and you can find them at 12742 Crenshaw Boulevard in Hawthorne, California. And they even have vegan options, too.
They sure do. And they are open from Tuesday to Sunday, 12 to 8 p.m.
And I just followed them on Instagram at Slush and Roll. Sounds too good. Let's go right now.
Yay!
Woolsey, it's Deshaun Showtime Watkins, and you can tune in to Compton Mania Monday nights, 9 o'clock on TGN. Woolsey.
Only on TGN Sports.
What's up? It's your girl, Kirsten and Moni, and we are Never Not Extra. Be sure to check us out every Tuesday live at 8:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, only on the Good News Radio app. And if you didn't know, now you know.
Are you looking to buy a home? Are you looking to sell your home? If your answer is yes, call the Walker Group at 310-421-6464. With over 18 years experience, the Walker Group has serviced clients throughout Southern California with their real estate need. Let us be of service to you as well. Once again, call the Walker Group at 310-421-6464.
All right, welcome back. We are Brown Wealth Radio right here on TGN Latinx on the Good News Radio Network. It is your boy Ricks with my partners Jesse, Dogra, and Rennie. Now, before the commercial, we just covered El Mercado, the news, and some more earnings, and we got some more good stuff on the way. We are bringing that fire to the airwaves and also on social media, because you can follow us at the Brown Skin Investors, where we post gems about the market, financial literacy, and announcements, and you could get the link in the bio to purchase our stock market webinar course, Brown Wealth Matters merch, plug, and more. Now, if there's any entrepreneurs out there that do want to get a plug or a shout out on our show, hit us up on IG on our DMs and we got you. Advertise your business or your ventures with us with the Good News Network while the prices are still low. And before we keep it moving, I do want to give a quick shout out to our boy who's probably checking us out right now, DC. He just received a green card today. So
what you sipping on, my boy?
Now you can travel all over the world. Make sure you hit Mexico first, because I know that's your favorite, right?
Congrats.
Much love to you,
Yes,
DC,
sir, man.
So-
Very happy for you, my boy.
Shit made my day.
But you know what?
Congratulations, my man. Congratulations.
We're talking about today, but we're talking about yesterday as well. So-
Yesterday's price is not today's price.
What?
Yesterday's price is not today's price.
Especially when we sit here and we talk about college tuition and this student debt loan. So the average cost of college tuition and fees at public four-year institutions has risen 179.2%. 179.2%
Over
the
how long?
last 20 years.
So did you do this information just to say how much has gone up since I've been in college? Because it's been 20 years.
Yes.
Damn.
So, but year over year was up 9%.
Yeah,
That's
that's insane.
absolutely insane.
Yeah.
Between 2018 and 2019 and the 2019 to 2020 academic years, the tuition at the average public four-year institution increased by 1.5%. So that's like right in the middle or heading into the pandemic, right?
Yeah.
Okay. The rising cost of college tuition outpaces the rate of inflation. So we were talking about helium, the price of gas, the price of food, and we're over here complaining about how much that costs. And tuition is outpacing it at 171.5%. Now, the average cost of tuition has risen 124% over the last 20 years, and an average annual increase of 6.2 at private four-year institutions. So those
And
are
they were
even-
already expensive.
Exactly.
Yes. Yeah. So
Put it a little bit in perspective, just regular numbers, not talking percentage.
yeah.
Guess how much it was on average in 2000, 2001 to go to a public four-year?
How much?
Take a guess.
I'm gonna say, because I was going to college around that time, I'm gonna say 5.
3,735. And for a private university, 16,211.
Sounds about right.
Right? Now, let's take 2020. How much you think a public university four-year was?
Well, I know this. I know this very well, so I'm gonna let you guys guess.
I have zero idea.
Yeah.
You want to take a guess, our son?
No, hold on, because I think there's some math in this article is wrong, and I want to share.
Of course.
boy.
But just take a
The
wild guess,
mathematician's
Jesse, because
coming out.
I know this because I see these applications and these costs all the time.
6,000.
$9,349.
Yeah.
So
And that's at your
200%.
average public university.
Oh, you were making
Average
it sound like
for-
it wasn't like a big jump.
No, it's a jump.
It's a big old jump.
Oh, yeah. Private four-year went up to 32,769.
Wow.
So hold on. So they're gonna pay $32,000 a year for 4 years to come out, and on average, get a job that pays 45 to 50K.
Depends on where
Well, I'm
you
gonna
get
say
the
this.
job.
I just want to know if the person who wrote this article went to college or not. Because they said that it rose 179% over 20 years for an average annual increase of 9%. But I think this person has no understanding of compound interest, because I just did the math. And if it was average annual increase of 9%, it would actually be about 510% it went up.
Wow.
So just for the record, I just want to share
All
that.
right. But overall,
listen,
I did
overall
not
has-
major.
it
I
has
did not
doubled-
major in math.
Overall, has doubled, almost tripled, and we're only talking right here about tuition. We aren't talking about room and board. We aren't talking about fees. We
Hold
aren't
up.
talking about books.
You're
So
not
this is
talking
just-
about a 2-bedroom apartment in Westwood going
Oh.
for $3,800 a month.
Hold on a second. So that 32,000 that you were saying before for that's not including room and board.
That's just to get in.
That's how much a
Oh,
2-bedroom goes for in Westwood.
Wow.
3,800. I think it's more.
I remember.
More.
I remember
Probably
in the
more.
good old days it was 2,000.
I was talking back in the day.
Yeah,
Okay.
in
No,
the
I'm
good-
pretty sure
in the,
it's
in
more
the good
now.
old day it was about 2,000, and about 6 of us lived in that joint.
No,
So-
we paid 2,800.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's pretty intense.
but that
Like,
is Westwood. Like let's be honest. That's
Yeah.
that's a different ball game. That you know.
Yes
Shout
and
out still to
no.
UCLA though. Shout out still to UCLA.
But yes and no. But like if you go to school anywhere in LA and
Yeah.
like if you're not living with your parents and you're paying room and board
Yeah.
anywhere, or maybe your parents are making you pay, that is gonna be
Yeah.
super expensive. Westwood might not even be the most expensive part.
So I guess that's where a lot of this conversation comes
Yeah,
from, right?
yes.
Like, is it really worth taking on all of that debt just to get that experience and get that degree?
And before people-
he just claimed the post right now.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
You know, for those of you that
Before
follow us
anybody-
on
it was
IG,
Before anybody
Um,
throws stones, this is Jesse's
let's
point.
let's make it clear.
Yeah, keep it 100.
I am not anti higher education. I'm very pro education. It's just there's different avenues for people
Yeah.
to get this education and not incur that crippling debt,
Yeah.
right? Like think about this. The average time it takes somebody to pay that loan back is 20 years.
Right.
And they're
Yeah.
paying so much more than what the loan was even for. Like you
There's
take out a
definitely-
$90,000 loan and you're paying back 300 grand, 700 grand.
there's
500
we
grand.
have a lot of different views, and there's a lot of perspectives, a lot of things to unpack when it comes to this. I think the biggest thing that we wanted to get to in this segment was just the rising costs.
Yes.
And just how it has outpaced inflation. So we're over here, you know, having to pay all of these things, whether it's gas or groceries or mortgages or rents, and education has gone up even faster. And that gets to the point for somebody like me who works in education, that becomes one of the biggest barriers into helping students of color and communities of color, you know, low socioeconomic status, to go to college. As far as point of view, we're going to talk more about that, but that is great information that you have been sharing, and hopefully we can unpack it a little bit more as we go throughout, because there's aspects that we do want to hit on it. One of them
absolutely.
being, you know,
I mean,
one of them
don't
being,
get me wrong. You know, it's definitely a little bit of a predatorial system that's
Yes.
going on.
yeah, and
You know,
and
it's
there's ways to understand it.
more than
There's-
a little.
There are things that are happening.
There's definitely a bubble with
yeah.
that as well.
When they shared that the price went up when no one was even going to school, like kind of tells you everything you need to know in a nutshell.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, let's be real.
You know,
Education's
that
a
needs a
bit.
round of applause.
yeah, that's a strong point, and it's
Education's a business,
1,000%.
1,000%. But guess what?
1,000%.
Yeah, a lot of times you need that education to get
Yeah.
into certain doors,
Yep.
to get to certain places.
And you need that to get that.
Yep.
Get that
Gotta
money.
get it. Dollar bill, y'all.
Right. So we need
So-
that to get that cream.
Yes,
Cream.
sir. So
Credit.
talking about credit,
Yes.
right? And you know, for those of you that do incur student debt, you know, it is pushed back until you get a job. You know, you get to think, what is it? How many months after school is it?
That's
6
the
months,
defer.
typically.
6 months, where the
Typically 6
deferment
months of deferment,
finishes.
yeah.
Yeah, so 6 months finish, you know what I mean? And you're going to start paying it. So just want to kind of put you on game on how student loans impact credit. It definitely impacts your credit just like any other loan would. All right. Whether it's a federal loan, a subsidized, unsubsidized, a private loan, you definitely need to pay that back. If you default on it, if you become delinquent on it, if you're late on it, it's going to negatively impact your credit score.
Yeah.
Right.
Mhm.
So you get in that 846. You definitely don't have any student
Probably
loans
for
on there.
not having 846 credit score.
I'm teasing. I'm teasing.
No, remember I told you a few episodes back, I had took money out and paid all my debts off.
Good job.
Yeah.
But how long before it's reported depends on the type of loan that you have. So federal student loans, you know, servicers wait at least 90 days to report any late payments, right? So they give you a little bit more time.
Yeah.
Private student loans, they pretty much act like a regular credit card. They're going to give you about 30 days. You don't pay that, you're getting that delinquent late payment on your credit score. But let's say you can't pay your student loans, right? You're in a situation where you can't pay it. There's avenues for you to go after that can help you out with that. So you can sign up for an income-driven repayment plan. If you have a federal loan, basically say, hey, look, I understand I owe, how much you say, 300,000? I owe 300. I make 50K. There's no way for me to pay that, right? So based on how much I make, you'll take a percentage of that towards me paying that off. Another way is to apply for a modified payment plan with the private loans. Some lenders have that option. Hit them up. Hey, I'm in this situation. I want to pay. I want to stay in compliant, but this is all that I can afford. You get me?
Does that negotiation negatively impact your credit score?
Not if the lender's willing to do it, because remember, the lender has no real obligation to do it other than
so they have all the leverage.
They have all the leverage. It's just whether or not they want to do business. Now, don't get me wrong. They want your money. So you do have a little bit of leverage because they do want your payment. You know what I mean? And then you could enroll in deferment or forbearance to temporarily pause your monthly payments.
You're able to do that. You do have to apply for it. Just for anybody that knows, you apply for it, and there's avenues also to consolidate your loans, to switch them over. Obviously, there's a lot more businesses out there that do try to get you to consolidate and move over your loans to pay them, and you're still paying those interest rates and things like that. And even in the income-driven payment, the interest rate continues to build up and build up. So you're paying it over more time, which means you end up paying.
You're collecting more interest on you.
Yeah. So you'll see Instagram posts, and you'll see, these type of posts from people where they're saying, yeah, I've been doing my payments for 40 months and I now owe $60 more than what the original loan was. So, these are ways to help you financially, but as always, because we have been talking about it, these predatory loans are causing people to go backwards before they go
because
forward.
Sometimes these people struggle to get jobs. I graduated around 2010 when the recession was happening. Some people couldn't get jobs at that time. They have to start paying that, and it already negatively impacts their credit score.
So my question is, when it comes to student loan debt, okay, so with credit in general, if your credit utilization rate is a little bit lower, there's somewhat of a benefit to that, right? Like keeping your credit lines open and stuff like that, right?
Definitely.
Is there a single positive benefit to carrying any kind of student loan debt?
Well, yeah, I mean, the positive is that if you're paying it and on time, you get the credit of the continuous on-time payment. You also get the credit for how long you've had that loan, ensuring credit history, because it is also considered credit.
But does it get pulled into your credit utilization rate?
Yes, it does. It does. Not to the same level as other ones do, but it does impact
within
it.
like a person.
Yeah, when you look at it, it's not necessarily because obviously whatever you owe on your loan is 100% of what you owe on the loan. It's not that you have $500,000 and your loan's only
and right now is a very unique time because, for example, like Rennie talked about using balance transfers to help get rid of that debt and not have to pay that interest. That's a great thing to do. It's a great utilization of a financial tool. But also kind of what you guys pointed out earlier, where, society is really pushing to squash student debt. So I know a lot of people that are like, I'm not trying to pay this. I'm really banking on
it being forgiven.
Goddamn right.
If certain elections went a certain way, it probably would already be forgiven.
And
when you think about this, though, like, do you feel like it impacts our communities a little bit more?
100%.
100%.
100%.
Now,
I got you.
There we go.
Hey, that's where the
nice
chemistry is.
segue.
We might have to be on the same camera next time.
Yeah.
So first it was Rick's.
Yeah.
Now you want Jesse.
Yeah.
Dice. What I gotta do to get on the list? I don't know.
Segue. We also want to make sure everybody knows that you are listening to Brown Wealth Radio here on TGN Latinx and the Good News Radio Networks. And let's get into our topic that we're going to continue on. It was a great segue. Thank you, Jesse, for cutting them off. That was really good on your part. But this is our Brown Wealth Matters topic that we are going to continue to delve into, and that is the student loan debt crisis. So obviously very important topic on my end as far as what I get to do. I've been working with high school students now for almost 10 years as a principal. Now I see my students get into college, and very proud to say about the numbers that we have. And that is that we have almost 80% of our students get into a 4-year, and on average, 70% of our students have had we've had a persistence rate of 70%, meaning they go from first year to second year, which is where you get the biggest drop off. And I think that just comes from the knowledge that we try to show with them, whether it's through our program and things like that. But again, these numbers are astonishing. And based on a study by educationdata.org, they did find that 67% of Hispanic and Latino student borrowers have educational debt. 69% of Hispanic and Latino students who use private loans, like what you were talking about, Chris, they owe $40,000 or more. And pretty much 69% of Black and African American students who borrow from these private organizations also owe $40,000. So think about that. 70% of Black and brown students who get private loans are already in debt over $40,000.
And private loans are a whole different ballgame because at least when it's federal or subsidized, you know, it's 3.5%, 5%, if that.
Yep.
You know, my sister-in-law just got her RN. She just became a registered nurse.
Yeah, congrats.
Yeah, shout out to her. Yeah. But I'm trying to help her, you know, get out of debt and get on a payment plan to budget herself. And I look at one of her loans. The poor girl, just to finish her last year, she had to get a private loan. They wouldn't give her the federal loan.
Yeah.
She took a $15,000 loan from Sally Mae at 14%.
Wow.
And I'm just like, hey, forget everything else. Yeah. That's what we need to attack. That right there is just highway robbery.
Well, what does that interest rate do? So an example is that 4 years after graduation, so mind you, we're paying these loans back now. 48% of Black students after 4 years of payments owe 12.5% more than what they borrowed. Comparatively, during the same amount of time, 4 years after graduation, 83% of white students owe 12% less than what they borrowed. So obviously, they've already got a head start. Obviously, Rennie talked about the forgiveness program and everything like that. But we have 45 million student loan borrowers who right now owe a collective $1.7 trillion. Wow.
Now.
So that's essentially what we're all hoping gets forgiven. And it has increased due to more students going to college, more students of communities of colors going to college where they have to borrow more.
The only reason it's increased though, because it's predatory.
Yeah.
So, I mean, why is it that in our society, it's, banks will treat a real estate investor much more friendly than they will a college student? I mean, think about it, right? Like 14% interest for her loan to go to school. Yeah. She would have gotten a better rate if she was flipping a house.
Yep.
She would have.
Yep.
Right.
Absolutely. Or buying a house.
Yeah. And I know we'll talk about this. One of the things we won't talk about too much this week is a 529. We're going to talk about that next week. But just the one point I want to make in relation to how it impacts Brown Wealth Matters, what we're here for is that, when you think about it from a 529 standpoint, that is a tool that our communities don't really know about. And that's a tool that other communities that have, been able to play at this level for a very long time, they actually use it to maintain generational wealth in their families.
Yeah, they understand the financial tool that's available to them.
Right.
I mean, I was going to bring to piggyback on that. A lot of the reason why people of color are on this is because our parents didn't know enough to set us up.
Yeah.
That's why we got to do differently.
And that is the first step, obviously. And just to keep going with more of the information that we've been talking about, several billion has been canceled with this administration, but it's still just, a drop in the bucket. Yeah, exactly. So we are trying to get more forgiveness. And this has unfortunately become a political issue where the Democrats, they want more of it canceled, saying that the moratorium going through August just isn't enough. And the GOP, unfortunately, is saying that this is leading to the recession because of the $150 billion cost to the taxpayers. So it's contrary to what they've been talking about, wanting tax breaks. So, there's information.
But I think the issue that you have to consider, right, is that, there's many facets, many layers to this, right? Because it's not just first off, the most important thing is what's the right and what's the wrong thing to do. And I think if you look at it from that argument, for me, it's difficult to think that what has been very predatory lending behavior shouldn't be forgiven. And then if you look at it from more of the practical standpoint, more of the balancing your checkbook standpoint, at the end of the day, this debt is owed to people. So if somebody owed you money, how would you feel about it being forgiven? So it's multi-layers. I'm not saying that makes it okay or it doesn't, right? I think, everybody's going to have their own opinion on that. But there's almost like a moral argument to be made, and then there's like the practical financial argument to be made. And anytime that those two come together, it makes it very, very like complicated.
Yeah.
So what we're saying is that the financial aspect will probably beat out the moral aspect of it.
I mean,
in the country,
I don't want to.
Well, let's keep it 100. You know, I owe you $100, and I've had this, that, and the other happen to me. You want your $100,
right? But maybe if you gave me that $100 at a 2% at a 2% VIG and not a 15% VIG, I'd be able to pay you back.
Oh, without a
so
doubt.
you'd still make a profit, maybe not, break my legs in the process of making that money.
And these rising costs aren't an accident.
Exactly.
Because now more people are.
I mean, let's be real. Colleges is a business.
Yeah.
You know, we had the housing bubble in 2008. I argue that the college student debt bubble is just even bigger.
Yeah.
Waiting to burst. And we just got to do a better job of educating people like us that college is a great tool to use, something to take advantage of, but you got to have a purpose. You got to figure out what it is you want.
And that's my whole thing, because someone up here, I think we might have said who it was, threw up this great post last week. They got a lot of conversation going.
It did.
But and we were talking about like, is college the route that you want to take? And there's also a lot of layers to that, but I'm just going to come down to my personal thought, and that's that, if this is what you want to do and this is what you have a passion for, you should absolutely pursue it. And I know we talked a little bit about like, well, what if you don't know what you want to do? And I would say that that's fine too, but I don't know that it has to be the default option for everybody. I think it can be, as long as you're considering like what that entails. And that really does entail how much debt you're going to acquire. The knowledge is extremely important, because just one other thing I'll mention is, you talked about how like for 6 months after you graduate, you have that automatic deferment of your loan, right? You don't get charged 6 months. Like, real talk. Like, I mean, I wasn't in the best situation always, but if I would have changed my mindset and said, damn, for 6 months, I'm not going to get any interest on these loans. Let me just work hard, move back home, work crazy, and see how much of this I can pay off. Like, that would have been a substantial drop in the bucket. So even if I would have been getting interest at 12, 14%, whatever that might be, I might have actually had a shot at owing less than what I borrowed a few months after.
And I'll go into kind of what I was telling you guys earlier, just based on the conversations that I was even having today with students. And, for my school, for a lot of education, I do see it personally as an investment in a person. And it's not just the academic benefit, but it's the holistic benefit. It's the things that we have talked about. It's the networks. It's the people that you meet. It's the relationships that you build.
Would
it's the
Brownwell's
doors.
Radio be here?
It's the doors. It's the doors that are open. And the way I see education is that it's the broadest door into success. So it's not the door for everybody. It's not the lane for everybody, but it is the biggest the widest cast.
My only thing for that though is that I don't know that it has to be like part of your destiny, if you will, because you just asked a great question, right? Would Brownwell's Radio be on if we hadn't gone to college? And I see where you're coming from, but nothing that I did in college necessarily had to do with like me meeting Jesse. I mean, the circumstances.
75% of us is because of college.
You're right. Yeah, you're right. But let's be real. Like
100% of us, because we met.
But where did this kind of like start? Was really, I think, that conversation, right? Because then that's kind of what got the rest of us going. So my answer to that would be, I'm not sure. I'm not saying yes or no. I would say not sure, because maybe through a different way we would have all been motivated.
Hold on.
There's no way on this earth you would not have met Ricks.
Yeah,
there's no way.
But the question wasn't would I have not met Rick.
I would have met him at the Circle Bar
no matter
on a random
what,
Saturday night.
I know where you're going with this.
So
cross paths.
We've talked a lot about the debt part of it, but I know you've got some like really good insight on like what's it called, the PS.
Yes. So
PSLF.
So we're moving quickly, but Doger did talk about like income and forbearance and things like that. But I
think PSLF is so important that let's talk about it.
Yeah. So there is a very, very strong program that is the PSLF, and that is the Public Service Loan Forgiveness. And what that is that if you're under and you work for a qualified employer, whether it's public education, law enforcement, emergency management, or a lot of the public service sectors, as long as they're nonprofit, you can apply for the Public Service Loan Forgiveness, where if you make 120 consecutive qualifying payments, you can get the rest forgiven. Now, for somebody that's worked, in education, you're not making the most money, you could double it up with your income-based repayment plan, and you make your 120 payments, whatever is left is forgiven. And what you have to do is you just have to keep reapplying every year, where your work time has to get, evaluated and processed. Now, a lot of the loans that have been getting forgiven recently is based on them finally fixing the PSLF program, where now more payments that were made by borrowers were counted. And also, it's been very good for those of us during the pandemic, because these months that we have been in the pandemic and we were under deferment are counting towards the count.
Isn't it crazy how complicated this is?
Definitely.
Like, it's so complicated because, one of the things that would cause you from qualifying is if you had done, I believe, if you had made any payments that weren't part of an income-based repayment plan. Like, I think that's officially be a part of it. So it's just crazy. But one more thing I'll add, though, is I do think whether you're in education, whether you're a nonprofit, you have to really think about if this is what you're going to do for a considerable amount of time. I was previously a nonprofit. I got to 9 years.
I
paid for it 9 years.
Yeah.
I did it 9 years, and then my career changed. And was there that thought like, damn, one more year and I'm done with student loans? Yes. Absolutely. And because I knew about the 10 years, all I did was pay the interest.
Yeah.
So when I made that job shift, I still owed all the principal and some interest.
Wow.
But you know what? It made sense for me. And, just a few years later, I don't owe anymore. But I do think you have to think about that, because for me, it was like, damn, if I just would have thrown a little bit at it, I would have been out of debt long ago.
And like with a career like mine, obviously, I need those little pieces of paper to get me in that door. I love what I do, but those pieces of paper, I had to invest in those pieces of paper to be able to make what I make now and grow in my career. But this
are you at the 10 years already?
No, I'm like close to 6 right now.
So what if next year you got a job offer to leave education for like 10 times what you're making?
Damn.
10 times is probably that's too dramatic. That's too dramatic.
If it's
10 times a lot. Sign me up.
If it's 10 times, sign me up.
Peace, Academia Advance.
How about twice? How about twice? Because that's what I left for.
Then I would essentially have to say that I'm going to work for how much longer to pay.
So you would do the math.
Gotcha. Yeah, I would have to do the math, and it would take me some time because of the interest and things like that.
I was just like deuces.
But,
I mean,
but I think what we're going to get down to is that there's so many issues with student loans. So what we want to do is help our communities move past that, because we want our children to be set up for the future. And that's why we are going to talk about 529s and UGMAs and UTMAs. So let's move it on to our last segment of the day, and that's the bars clip.
I think we're going
We're gonna have to skip some. We're gonna have to skip some. We're gonna have to skip some bars today. So, folks, we're coming to the end of Brown Wealth Radio, titled Springs.
Oh, we're still on YouTube, so go ahead.
Yeah. So we're titled Springs. So we're just gonna take it back and see you guys next week. We carried on for a while, but muchas gracias.
Actually, technically YouTube gets the extra time.
All right, let's keep going. So let's sum it up real quick. It is definitely a debate. College isn't everyone's route. It can be for a lot of people. There are ways to go beyond. But like Rennie said, figure out what you want to do.
Yeah, that's all I'll say.
And all I ask is, if you have kids, help them financially, so when they get to that point, they have that choice.
And that'll go into maybe some of our discussion next week. 529 and UGMAs.
Set up that 529. Get that
set up our kids. All righty.
All right, folks. Well, we appreciate y'all. Thank you for tuning in, and we will see you next week
at 8 p.m. Pacific.
To be specific.